Hello everyone! Blue Star Saber here once again to do another Star Wars review, this time for Star Wars Ashoka, Episodes 1 and Episodes 2. The first two episodes in the new series, Ashoka, directed and run by Dave Filoni, who is the original creator of Ashoka, along with George Lucas. And this is his first live-action project in which he leads the helm. And he's decided to do it with none other than Ashoka, the character that made him arguably his main creation from the very first Star Wars project he did with George Lucas, The Clone Wars, in which the series Ashoka is the, I believe, fifth live-action show for Star Wars, and I believe the third in the Mando versus upcoming Thrawn trilogy, in which this season, I think, is expected to build up on the threat of Thrawn. Now, with the climax into the movie that Dave Filoni will be directing that will conclude the Mando first. So, yeah. So this season will give us perhaps a lot of ideas of what to expect, or at least what to build up to in regards to that movie. And also, this show is serving as the purpose of a direct sequel to Star Wars Rebels, the animated show that Dave Filoni did when working on Disney, when Disney first acquired Star Wars, and which was in itself a sequel to The Clone Wars, which was not actually finished at the time, but yeah, it leads all kind of it's all kind of messy, but yeah, at least in terms of that kind of production. But yeah, Rebels in Ahsoka in many ways will probably be regarded as the unofficial fifth season of Rebels, but since Kanan Jarrus is dead and Ezra Bridger is missing, let's see, Dave Filoni seems to have decided to bring in Ahsoka as the main Jedi lead for, let's see, the Rebel cast, as from what we can tell so far. Let's see, Ahsoka is, let's see, joining her will be Sabine Wren, who apparently will be serving as, let's see, Ahsoka's student of sorts, and Hera, who is now a general in the New Republic, and Chopper. So at least half of the Rebels cast, pretty much the two females and the droid. But yeah, as no, granted, Ezra is said to appear in the show later, or at least maps later down the line, and who knows, Seb might have some sort of cameo or guest appearance, but we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, this show has been built up for the hype since The Mandalorian second season, with when the Mando first met Ahsoka, and she ended up capturing this associate of Thrawn's. I believe her name is Morgan Elizabeth, and she is in pursuit. Though we do know that Ahsoka has met Luke Skywalker, which, if it wasn't for like the Book of Boba Fett episode, I would assume that, let's see, Dave Filoni would have had Ahsoka meet Luke in the show, but it seems that they've already met off screen. I do hope that we do get to see that meeting at some point, though. Something tells me it might be something for like a Tales of the Jedi kind of storyline, but who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. It would be cool to see Luke animated for a change. Let's see. Sorry, I'm starting to yawn already, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, we'll see how this show's done. From what I've tell from my experience, given how this is everything Dave Filoni, there are those that love this show, those that hate it. But see, those because they're fans of Dave Filoni love it. Those who dislike this Dave Filoni seem to dislike it. But overall, it seems to be positive. Will my views be the same? Well, I think we'll need to find out. Let's see. Part 1 is The Master of the Apprentice, in which the let's see, the show starts with an opening crawl for, let's see, the TV show, which I will admit, it's been not since the rise of Skywalker has there been an opening crawl for Star Wars, so about 4 years. So in many ways, it's been a long time since this come back, and I'm really glad they did it, because I have missed this. Because, well, Star Wars is supposed to be famous in the open crawl. Heck, many of the old EU Legends games always did their opening crawls for their games, but you no longer see that really in anything Star Wars, but yeah, but it's kind of good that they sort of brought it back. Granted, it's more of a red text and it doesn't have the dun 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 dun, which they seem to be only keeping for like the Skywalker saga. But yeah. But it's nice to bring back, though. I will admit, Kenobi, I think, did a clever thing of doing like the sort of montage flashback between Obi-Wan and Anakin, so those have an idea of what's happened in the past. But anyway, the narration goes like, the Galactic Empire has fallen, and a new republic has risen to take its place. However, sinister agents are already at work to undermine the fragile peace. A plot is underway to find the lost Imperial Grand Admiral Thrawn and bring him out of exile. Once presumed dead, rumors are spreading of Thrawn's return, which will galvanize the Imperial remnants and start another war. Former Jedi Knight Ashoka Tano captured one of Thrawn's allies and learned of the secret map, which is vital to the enemy's plans. Ahsoka now searches for the map as her prisoner Morgan Elizabeth is being transported to the New Republic for trial, which I think it does a good job of explaining, though I think those who have no idea who Admiral Thrawn is will be a bit confused. But yeah. No, perhaps Kroll could have done like the Empire's best strategist or something, but yeah. But clearly this is leading into some sort of loose adaptation of the Thrawn campaign. Though instead of being a part of the Galactic Civil War, it'll be its own sort of small conflict, which I'm fine of. Though granted, this is of course a late edition, as the sequel trilogy gave no indications of such a conflict earlier. But yeah. But pretty much the episode begins with let's see, a New Republic transport in space. Let's see, it looks like one of those those rebel transport ships that you saw in Empire, or perhaps a bit more better designed. Where there's this guy called Captain Hale's being informed that a shuttle has come in with a clearance code that say they're Jedis. The captain dismisses this and decides to go in, to just let them on, but have like forces ready for security and forces ready and probably apprehend what he thinks is Imperial spies and all that stuff. In which he says so to the two Jedi's face, which he alleged Jedi's face, in which they does at least admit they look the part, and has this Mon Calamari soldier called Jarkus to confront the Jedi. But the Jedi does say that you are correct. We are not Jedi, as let's see, the young female apprentice, let's see, by the name of Shin Hate, ignites the orange lightsaber and kills the Mon Calamari soldier, and the bearded Jedi by the name of Bale Skull, which he uses the Force quite a bit to push some of the other rebels and thing, and I think he himself kills the captain with a lightsaber, saying, "You are correct. We are no Jedi." And then they sort of go in a sort of, I guess you could say, Darth Vader-like murder spree as Brennan Skull slaughters Republic security all to get to like Morgan Elizabeth, while let's see. Oh yeah, and then also there's a droid called RD3 that is also let's see sliced down, but you've got let's see, first officer Jensen Colbert, who was at the bridge with the captain. Let's see, trying to get the hand of the situation, but the apprentice comes in and, well, as we had probably assumed, kill her off screen as we cut to when she arrives in the building. But yeah, anyway, let's see. Brylan Skull frees Morgan Elizabeth, who's in a sort of yellow jumpsuit. I can't say the word, sorry. Using the Force to remove their restraints. Let's see. Morgan saying that, let's see, it looks like she did a well-paid job of hiring him. And let's see, Skull ends up asking how enough, let's see, who ended up captured her, to try and find the map to Grand Admiral Thrawn. And she reveals it's Ahsoka Tano, and you can see that the Jedi knows this bearded dark Jedi knows this name. Okay, I will admit, this is a pretty great opening. Granted, I think I've seen some criticisms that the captain is a bit of an idiot, in which you can clearly tell, and it's like you can clearly tell because you can kind of tell he's a bit cocky. So yeah, arguably he probably should not have left. He should not have left. Let them on the ship and all that stuff. Instead, he should have just probably send the crew to inspect at the very least, but at least into the shuttle, so they wouldn't get in, or at least warn that they will fire on them. But yeah, but I do like how ruthless the two Dark Jedi. At least I believe they're Dark Jedi because they're orange blades. It's not the Sith sabers and all that stuff, but it's clearly they are Jedi from what we've seen from the teasers and trailers and promotions. That Bren Skull was a former Jedi Knight during the Clone Wars, but we'll get more into that a bit later. So they pretty much I do like how they just pretty much slaughter them quite efficiently. It's kind of like, I guess you could say, a Vader hallway kind of thing, though perhaps a lot less, not as bloody, not as ruthless as Vader was, but that's to be expected. But yeah, it was a pretty good scene, and arguably for some people, probably the best scene in the show, but in this episode. But yeah, it was pretty good. But anyway, hold on a second. Let's see. We cut to a planet called Arcana, which we see Ahsoka Tano entering a temple, cutting herself down to a temple using her lightsabers, and trying to figure out the puzzle piece like a sort of Indiana Jones thing. And then a bit of a ball spear comes out, and then she is informing her companion, Professor Huyang, who has not been seen since his debut arc in the Clone Wars of the Jedi Younglings, which Ahsoka was a very prominent character of, and once again is voiced by David Tennant. And I should also probably mention that Rosie O'Dawson is portraying Ahsoka, and Braylon Skull is being portrayed by Ray Stevensons. Unfortunately, he died just before this season premiered. So the episode in the end, says in honor of Ray, and so yeah. So I'm wondering how they're going to handle this. I assume that the character's probably going to be dead by the end of the season, but I could be wrong. But yeah. But other than that, you've got Ivana Sakaho as Shin Hayati, or Shin Hattie. Shin Hattie. Sorry, I'm yawning. I'm probably talking too much. But yeah, she pretty much gets the MacGuffin, and then is attacked by the HK droids that we saw in her first live-action debut in The Mandalorian Season 2. She easily bests them with the electric staffs, but then they end up setting, the survivors end up setting the self-destruct, destroying the temple, but Ahsoka, thanks to Hyuga, is able to use the T6 Jedi Shuttle to get her on board, in which they have a bit of argument about how it took for being too distant for the comms to thing, but he says he was following his Jedi protocol, and even though Ahsoka says, the Jedi are gone, he says, I still have my protocol, and says that, if you want someone to watch your back, you kind of need that's a job of a Jedi Padawan learner. And but Ahsoka says regardless, she got the information about that they need from Morgan Elizabeth about the map, and he asks how you did it, and she says she wasn't following Jedi protocol, which is kind of funny just to see this sort of interaction exchange. Is like, oh, I'm following my Jedi calls. Oh no, I am keeping my No, I'm not. Well, I'm not. And it kind of just to show you just how one is more like outside the Jedi box and one that's sort of in the Jedi box, which it's kind of funny interactions to see. But anyway, I am glad that they brought this character back. I did wonder after his like first bunch of episodes. I did wonder what happened to this character, and it's always great to hear David Tennant's voice again. And I'm really looking forward to him playing the 14th Doctor in the Doctor Who specials. But yeah, I am wondering. I did wonder, did this character survive the Jedi Purge or not? I mean, we knew that Gunji of all the younglings at least initially survived Order 66. We don't know about any other Jedis, but of the younglings, but we weren't sure if he survived or not, or how he would have taken like Ilum being like taken by the Empire. But at the very least, we now got confirmation that he's back and he's agreed. And at some point, I'm assuming since the end of Rebels, after I think the season 5 finale of Rebels, I think that was 5ABY. 5ABY. Let's see, and when Ahsoka and Sabine went to go initially look for Ezra, it seems he tagged along and gave his Jedi knowledge at the very least. So, yeah, it's good to have this character back. I will admit it's the Indiana Jones thing probably took a bit too long, though I do like how they did that sort of Indiana Jones style thing, as I doubt Dave Filoni is ever going to do anything with Indiana Jones related, though it could be kind of cool if he did, but I'm not sure what Disney's going to do with Indiana Jones since Dial of Destiny bombed at the box office. So we'll have to wait and see on that, but yeah, that could be interesting to do if he decides to do an Indiana Jones TV show. But at the very least, I do like the sort of patterns where she was doing to try and get the ball spear out. And I do like the sort of designs at the temple, designs of the temples of like the mysterious women's. In many ways, they kind of remind me of Kreia from Knights of the Old Republic 2, who is currently, I believe, still non-canon, but who knows. Anyway, it's kind of good to see the HK droids again. And instead of, I think, just having blasters, they could have had spears last time. It's been a while since I've watched that episode of Ahsoka Tano, I will be honest, but in The Mandalorian. But I do like how they have the electric stars in which Ahsoka Tano can fight and then defeat those droids. But like, seems like every assassin droid, they have these self-destruct protocols. So, yeah. But yeah, I do like the fact that we've got the Jedi shuttle from the Clone Wars being used as like Ahsoka's sort of Millennium Falcon type transport, which would be more fitting for a Jedi than something like, say, the Ghost, which is more based off the Millennium Falcon. But yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a pretty good ship, and it's kind of nice to see those prequel era ships used in at least some of them. I mean, if the OT get to keep their X-wings and all that stuff, let's see, we might as well have some prequel ships. But yeah. Anyway, let's see. Ahsoka then gets a call from the New Republic that from the Fleet Command about how they're telling them to travel to Home 1 via hyperspace, in which Ahsoka identifies their ships, and they're given clearance where they meet General Hera Syndulla, in which she is being she is being portrayed by let's see, where do we have her? Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and from my understanding, she let's see, I think she actually voiced did she actually voice the character? And let's see. Okay, no. Let's see. Vanessa Marshall. My mistake. But it's a much different. Let's see. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is someone different from who she voiced, but I think she does a good job with what she does. Though I will admit, I feel like her acting and expressions don't fully match Herondon Syndulla from Rebels, so I think is a bit more expressive, though I do like her expression when Ahsoka goes to inform her that about Grand Admiral Thrawn, which then leads me to get back to the episode where Ahsoka and Hayu are entering the ship at the end. Hera is showing them the footage of like two Jedi, or at least those trained in the Jedi arts, showing them like one igniting the lightsaber and the other using the Force, with Hayu saying that they have at least been trained in the Jedi arts, and Ahsoka telling them that that she was following a lead from Morgan about possibly the return of Thrawn, which of course shocks Hera that Thrawn could be back, because she thought he died along with Ezra when he sacrificed himself. But it does give her a sense of hope that Ezra might be alive, and they try with Hayu and Hera trying to recommend that perhaps it's time Ahsoka brought back Sabine as her apprentice. But but Ahsoka's a bit reluctant, but Hera thinks that she would probably help, given how they left on bad terms since they last met. But Hera thinks that if it's for Ezra, she will comply, as she's been taken to a sort of defense council. I do like how they explore the ship and all that stuff, but I do like how Hayu looks at this battered lightsaber, this damaged droid by a lightsaber. So I like that. Like I said before, I like the expression Hera does, but hearing Thrawn's return, and perhaps even a sense of hope that Ezra might still be alive. But it's interesting to learn how. But it's interesting to learn that. Everyone thought that Ezra and Thrawn died at the end of the Battle of Lothal, but that might no longer be the case. And I do like how they try to say, like, you're going to need some help if you're going to get some lightsaber combat. So it's like that's why, and that leads to like her to like go to Sabine. And I do like how that moves into our next bit. But yeah, I do like how they're trying to say, like, if there's two like fallen Jedi, or two Jedi, like a master and apprentice, which I do like how it's kind of sticking to the rule of two there. Or at least with how Star Wars seems to go with these things. But you're going to need one yourself. So like one master and one apprentice. As in the movies, you never really got like the Jedi master and the apprentice fighting both the master and apprentice at the same time. The closest you kind of got was Obi-Wan and Yoda both taking on Anakin and or Darth Vader and Palpatine in two separate places. But yeah. So we have that, but I do like how they're sort of building like the threat, how they're taking the threat of Thrawn serious, as there will be another war. I do like how we are seeing the Rogue One again, and I think it makes sense that it'd be one of the main ships in the New Republic fleet. Though I'm wondering why they didn't have Admiral Akbar on it, and now it's General Syndulla. Did Akbar retire some point after this? I probably should need. I don't know when. I know he retired and then brought himself back for the Resistance, and then got killed off in The Last Jedi, much to the dismay of a lot of Star Wars fans and the way he died. But I figured he'd at least still be a New Republic admiral for a while. But it seems like General Syndulla has taken her place, which props to her. But yeah. Anyway, we get up to the farm, which I will admit, the show did a very good job of. I think the show did a very good job of adapting the live-action portrayal of Lothal, like what it was at the end of the Rebels. It's sort of utopia society. the grass fields, the communications array that Ezra used to live at. But I will admit, I have seen some criticism. Particularly, I think when I watched like Star Wars Only when he reviewed the show, that it looks too clean. It doesn't look lived in and all that stuff. Saying it looks kind of fake and real. But I think I think that's some of the criticisms that you see throughout the show, throughout the episodes with some people, that it doesn't look like a lived-in world and all that stuff. Which, I think when it comes to New Republic ships, I think that's fine, since most of them should be new ships, and the hallways and those always look white and clean anyway. And also Lothal has just rebuilt itself into this new utopia thing, so I think it kind of works here. It's not going to be like run down areas like Tatooine. So which is supposed to be dirty. I mean, maybe the temple with Ahsoka visited to could have been a bit more dirtier, but I think for the most part it's fine. But But we see Governor Ryder Azari, I think. For the first time portrayed in live action, who was the governor during the Governor in Exile in Rebels. And he's being portrayed by Clancy Brown, who I think also did that Mandalorian antagonist in Star Wars Bounty Hunter, and voiced Savage Opress, and now he's voicing this rebel character in real life, finally getting a real life portrayal. I thought that was pretty cleverly done, as he's talking about how it's been the anniversary of their liberation, and where Commander Ezrin sacrificed his life to save Lothal, and he's commemorating this monument that Sabine, I believe, drew, that we saw at the end of Rebels, to the people to see, and is now going to have one of those rebel leaders that led to their liberation speak, which is Sabine. But when he's ready to show her to the crowd, she has gone missing, and he tells his New Republic officials to find her, even though she was just there a second ago. And instead, pay some time, tries to get Senator Jared Kell to speak to the crowd as he tries to improvise. And this is this is the sort of character that Ezra befriended in the Imperial Academy, then escaped, and then he came back for season 4 to be a rebel ally. And it seems now he's becoming a senator, which I don't mind. I mean, granted, I thought he might. I was under the. Though I think I wasn't sure if he was actually force sensitive or not, but it seems it's not the case. But he's done a career in politics, and I think that's fine with the character. It's kind of nice seeing the thing. Though, granted, I think it'll be a bit of a. I think, from my understanding, Jal Kell, Jal Kell is not being portrayed by I believe his voice actor, who I think was from which I recall, he was actually voiced by Dante Bosco. The voice of Zuko from Avatar, but here he's got a different live actor. I don't know what the name of that actor is, which is kind of disappointing, but nevertheless, it's a nice little cameo. I think I've seen some people say, oh, this is just memorabilia fan service, but I think it makes sense that if you go into Lothal, you see this governor and at least this senator, at least. I mean, it's not too much of an offensive fan service thing. Some people might remember this character, might not, but yeah. But he tries to get... But anyway, as the New Republic, you see... Sabine on I believe a painted former Imperial speeder bike is being chased by two New Republic pilots in what appears to be these new ships I've seen called E-Wing escort fighters. I mean, I think this is the first time these apparently they appeared in Apparently, they first appeared in Freemaker Adventures of Lego Star Wars. Let's see, where some sort of Lego cartoon thing, and apparently appeared in Poe Dameron 23 issue, but this is their first live action appearance. And I will admit, I do like these designs. In many ways, I kind of wish that this is what the. I do kind of wish that the. This is what the sequel trilogy did as the main X-wing type ships for the New Republic or Resistance, rather than just going like nostalgia baiting. I like these new ships. I do like it when Star Wars tries to do new ships in every era. So yeah, I think this could have been what they should have done, but unfortunately, that didn't happen. But yeah, but it's like they sort of chase her and Sabine. Let's see, I believe the two pilots are caught by the names of. I believe their names are Captain Porter and Lieutenant Callahan. Sabine sneaks past Callahan when she tries to stop midway, and Porter just gives up and she outruns him when she tells them to get lost, pretty much. But yeah, I will admit, like I said, I've already said how it's nice to see the live action portrayals of the Laval governor and Senator Jal Kelly, all that stuff, and I do like the ships. Now, granted, I think this is probably going to be perhaps one of the most controversial bits in this episode is the sort of Star Wars punk music or Star Wars rock music that you have Sabine listening to as she's flying. I mean, it worked for like a sort of rebel teenage girl, though Sabine is now a full adult, but she's now like a teenage adult rebel. So in many ways, it's sort of suiting, but I can see some people hating this music. But either way, but yeah. Anyway, she arrives back at the watchtower, feeding her pet the faux cat and listening to her communications about Ezra's last mission, saying about how last Ritzy message to her, saying how she asks her to make the decision no one else can, and says she trusts to continue the fight. He also calls her a sister, so I'm wishing her well, and she's leaves as she leaves sad as a result of this. Though I do like this message, and it seems Ezra is being portrayed by I believe someone called Emman Asfadani from my tale. Seems to be a new actor. Apparently, he's going to probably appear later on in Ashoka, but at the moment, it's just a hologram of him. I think they did a good job of capturing his look at the end of Rebels in the hologram. So, yeah, I'll give them props for that. But yeah, I do like the sort of hologram message, though I think Ezra and Sabine shippers are going to be disappointed that Ezra sees Sabine as a sister, as I think some people are hoping for a bit more romantic tension between the two, but it seems like Dave Filoni's decided against that. Who knows, perhaps maybe having Ezra stick more to the Jedi Code about romance, but we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, following on with the hold on, give me a second. So we cut back to like I believe let's see a Akana where Skull and then her apprentice, and now apparently a former Inquisitor by the name of Mara, who has got on quite a lot of interesting debates within the fandom, as the fact that there is an Inquisitor that has survived post-Jedi, Return of the Jedi, and also post A New Hope. New Hope. What was I saying? Oh, yes, New Hope, and is working with them, and both there with Morgan has then inspected destroyed ruins, and where we reveal that Morgan Morgan Elizabeth is a member of the Night Sister clan, and that this was her people's a sanctuary and all that stuff, and believes that her and seems like Ashoka surviving and taking the map, thinking that fate has brought everything about to them in their search of Thrawn, and thinks that and then if Ashoka is on the move, tells I believe that. Let me get the name. Balin Skull to send her apprentice Shin Haiti to Lothal to find Sabine Wren, in which Balin Skull explains to her apprentice that is Ahsoka's Padawan, and that might be a lead to try and get the map. Anyway, Sabine has a nightmare about Ezra, and then hears an alert and sees that and goes outside to see that 2 X-Wings are accompanying like Ahsoka's T6 shuttle, realizing that's probably her. She goes to Lothal Capital, where after the governor tells her that you were missed, Sabine, being a bit of a complaint, but she says, didn't realize what it was, but clearly Sabine has her own reasons not to go, and I suppose I do like how it seems Sabine doesn't want to really do a big celebration on the day that she lost probably another member of her family, one she was pretty close to in the Rebels crew, so understand her not wanting to be there, but yeah. But I can see how it was a bit of embarrassing for the governor after trying to introduce her. But Ahsoka, anyway, tells her to at least listen to Ahsoka. She's got something she wants to hear. And Ahsoka getting right to the point of saying that she might have a lead to Ezra, which definitely draws Sabine's attention. Also, there's a little introduction to Huan with her and all that stuff, and a little dirt comment. Apparently, still 75% original parts, which it looks pretty clean for a droid from like probably hundreds of maybe 100 or 1,000 years old. But yeah. But I have to admit, he's pretty handled himself really well for very ancient droid. Arguably, probably one of the only few characters that's older than Yoda. So, Ahsoka explains how she found this map on the Night Sisters' stronghold, and apparently it will lead to Thrawn and all that stuff. And you have a bit of arguments between Ahsoka and Sabine about trying to find the map and how it could bring to Ezra, and Sabine's own time, and when Ahsoka left her, all that kind of stuff. And you also kind of have Sabine looking where her old quarters was, where she edited the ship. I think I've seen some people criticize that in this New Republic, that Ahsoka's shuttle doesn't look lived in as well, but I think the Jedi Order were pretty good at keeping their ships clean and organized, but yeah. And when Sabine tries to recommend that she uses her own, goes back to her own quarters to try and get better inspiration to try and figure out the coding of this map. Ahsoka says not to, as she's trying to prevent a war. She's saying that it's too dangerous to leave, as this map could lead to a new war for the galaxy if Thrawn is coming back. But Sabine says she knows the risks, and they're getting a bit stubborn. But let's see, before this conversation can continue, I believe you have Hyung interrupt Ahsoka, telling her that that there's updates on like the scientific identity of these rogue or dark Jedi, if you will. Ritzy telling them that he's not seen the hilt of the young female, but recognizes the hilt of let me just get the name. Hold on, where is the name? Braylon Skull, who's the only Jedi that have done a design for this kind of lightsaber in at least the last 500 years. And when they return to discuss to Sabine what to do next, they reveal that she's already taken the map. The map with her back to her shuttle and all back to her station, in which using her sort of like holo map, and also like of what was recorded by Ahsoka with like the three figures, realizing that there's a sort of free symbol on the floor, and changes the spear to be to like unlock the map and all that, and realizes that and then gets a map to like a new galaxy, if you will. So that leads to another galaxy. So she realizes that they're going on a trip and all that. And during this time, you have Ahsoka talking to Harrison Dula, that was complaining about how stubborn Sabine is, even though they're both being pretty stubborn. But Hera trying to be the bit of a peacemaker and saying, I'm sure you weren't like that. I'm sure you weren't always like that with your master. Or sure you had someone like that with your master. And which Ahsoka ends up admitting that Anakin never got to do complete her training at times, made it difficult for him and left the order. And he says why talks more about that. Why didn't you stay? Maybe ask more why you didn't stay at least for like Sabine, or think why didn't you try to make it work? But I think Ahsoka goes on about how sometimes the right decision wasn't always the best situation, or the one that doesn't have without consequences. So yeah, I will admit from my understanding, that Ahsoka scene at the end with Sabine is at the end. They're gone search for Ezra. That's when they've gone off, and apparently, and we learned that Ahsoka was training Sabine in the Jedi arts at the very least. Now, granted, from my understanding, we know that Sabine does not have the Force and the abilities to connect to the Force at the very least. We know she had trained lightsaber combat in Rebels. In fact, I just watched the episodes today. I meant to try and catch up entirely of Rebels before the show aired, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So as a result, I ended up missing quite a... So I didn't get to watch everything to catch up, but in many ways, I at least got to see the training episodes before doing this review. So Sabine has been trained in the lightsaber arts, but it seems Ahsoka has gone a bit further and tried to make Sabine her Jedi Padawan in a sense, even though Sabine is not a full-on Jedi. So, which on one hand is kind of interesting. I can see why Dave Filoni made the choice to do this. Let's see with Sabine, since Ezra and Kanan's dead and Ezra's missing. Let's see, you need someone else to fill in the role of to take on the Dark Jedi apprentice, and it has to be Sabine. Though unfortunately, it means that it seems a bit weird that you have a non-Jedi Force-sensitive apprentice, but I suppose it's a sort of new thing in Star Wars, and maybe that might become a more common thing in the future. It's like those, at least, unofficial Jedi or something, but we'll just have to wait and see. At least those who have learned the ways of the Jedi, but cannot access the ways of the Force. But for all we know, Sabine could end up learning to be Force-sensitive in the future, because that nightmare thing could be like a Force vision, but I could be wrong there. But yeah, other than that, it is interesting to see the bad guys all meet and discuss things. And the fact that we do have an Inquisitor, which, like I mentioned, is a bit surprising that he survived post-Order 66. I think some people have theorized that this guy might be Starkiller from the games. We do not know. I think, let's see, apparently Sam Whitaker is voicing a character somewhere, maybe this one in The Mask, but whether or not he's portraying him in live action, I'm not sure. I know he did do live action characters before, including this one racist villain against aliens in Supergirl, I think. But, yeah. But other than that, yeah, I do like the interactions of the bad guys, the apprentice questioning what Morgan was sending us this planet for. And I find it very interesting that she is a Night Sister and is working for Thrawn and all that. So, yeah, I found that a bit fascinating as, especially a Night Sister working with the Empire since, well, the Sith, leading the Separatists, wiped out the majority of the Night Sisters during the Clone Wars, including killing Mother Talzin. And then the Empire seems to have finished off the job of wiping out the Night Sisters, as we saw in Jedi Survivor, with Cal Kestis and his, Night Sister love interest. So that's kind of interesting to see, but it is interesting because Morgan Elizabeth, from what I can tell, appears to be human and doesn't look like a Dathomanian Sabrak. So, it seems like it seems like there are Night Sisters that are not a part of like the Night Brothers, Night Sister, Dathomirian Sabrak family there. And it seems like it might have been a bit more diversified group than we are led to believe from like the Clone Wars and the Rebels, which seems to be genocide. But I think this might be more of a return to like the Night Sisters of the EU Legends. But at the very least, it does lead to a lot of questions about why a Night Sister would work for the Empire and Thrawn. That stuff. Granted, Thrawn had nothing to do with it, but it's like, would you really work for an empire led by the Sith who wiped out the Night Sisters who found them as a threat? But it does add a lot of interesting, and it adds a much more unique things. And it does give her a bit more credible as a dangerous threat, and maybe explains a bit more why she was quite skilled with the Beskar spear, and why she proved to be a bit more of a challenge for Ahsoka, because though the Night Sisters have their own sort of magic, which has some connections to the Force, and if we're exploring a new galaxy, this might be the origin of that magic, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I do like her sort of interactions with Ahsoka and Sabine. Now, granted, it feels weird because they'd never really interacted in Rebels. They were more like acquaintance. It was always more of Ezra and Kanan that did, like, the Jedi business with her before she disappeared. And I guess even Rex, but yeah. But they seem to have had a history, but it's completely off screen. So it feels kind of weird that they have this sort of tension. I think it's just something that Dave Filoni decided to add to the show to build, drama to. Not sure entirely works, but I think they're giving the best shot, though perhaps I feel like they're not having a bit much emotions between each other when it comes to their more "you left me" kind of thing. But I digress. I do like how Sabine looked at her own old quarters in the ship, and then just took the map and being, though granted Ahsoka probably should have informed them more of the serious situation, and just took the map to study in her own place, which she used her art creativity to find the map to the other galaxy, which I thought was impressive. Give me a sec. But as she continues her celebrations, as she's talking to her loafer cat and saying she's going on a trip, she starts growling and she gets attacked by HK unit droids, which I forgot to mention. I think there was a little it's one of those little probe droid things, and it's sort of similar thing like Darth Maul with the apprentice trying to find Sabine earlier. but with 2 HK droids. They finally found her, and the droids are ambushing her, one taking the map as she's fighting the other one off. Let's see, disarming it and shooting it, while the other shoots like the wreckage and then runs to downstairs to get to like the Dark Jedi. As Sabine takes at least the lightsaber out. But you do see the armor teased a bit here, but or at least earlier. Takes Ezra's lightsaber as she got the last kind of gift Ezra gave her, as she goes down to try and chase after the droid. But instead, meets the Dark Jedi. They duel a bit, and during this time, though, I think she at least gives the alert to Hayung, who informs, let's see, Ahsoka and Hera that they've got a problem, as Ahsoka and Hayung, using the shuttle, try to fly quickly as possible to like Sabine. But during this fight, Sabine gets stabbed in the side of the chest and collapses as Ahsoka and Hayung try to rush to her to get safe as much as possible, with the Dark Jedi getting away with the map ending the episode. Okay, for this last bit, I do like how the droid, when taking the map, shoots down all the other. Shoots down Sabine's house with like all the data things and gadgets that could have recorded the map details, leaving no traces for them to go off. So I thought that was clever, the droid. I do like Sabine's choreography and taking out, one of the other HK droids and disarming it and then shooting it with his own blaster. The lightsaber fight, I think, was okay. Not arguably the best, but I wouldn't say it's the worst either, though. Granted, my main criticism for that is Sabine stabbed in the side of the chest, and we know it might look like she's dying, but let's see, next episode she's alive, and this is a bit of a common problem with Disney Star Wars. Besides maybe a map to a MacGuffin and all that stuff, like map to Luke Skywalker, map to Exegol, now map to Thrawn. The other common trope, and this one I think is a bit more offensive, is the fact that you're getting a lot of lightsaber stabs. And let's see, in the sequel trilogy, with particularly Rise of Skywalker, let's see, Obi-Wan, and now here, you're getting characters stabbed by lightsabers, and they're not dying. Even though, granted, it was a bit more done to the side to try and make it look more like a non-fatal wound, but still, it's like there's so many times you can stab someone and not them dying, and it's getting a bit. This is ridiculous. Since we saw how Qui-Gon got stabbed, and eventually he died from that wound, and it's like, seriously, everyone lives but Qui-Gon. But yeah, it's a pretty good. But I can see why they try and do it for like tension, a sort of cliffhanger thing. May have not been the best way to execute it, but I understand why. Anyway, overall for this first episode, I have to give it I think I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I think there are some aspects it does well in introducing like the villains of this show, particularly Baylan Skull, Morgan Elizabeth, and Shin Hayati. And their sort of dynamic as like business partners, and then the Dark Master and Dark Apprentice. I think it'll do like how they've managed to adapt, portray live action versions of the characters from Rebels very well, particularly like Sabine, Hayug from the Clone Wars, and Hera, and even like those two minor characters from Rebel, from LaFall, have now become like the governor and the senator, and even like some of the new ship designs that they've done, and also the expansion of Morgan Elizabeth to like a Night Sister. I do feel like some things you might end up being lost if you haven't watched like the Clone Wars or Rebels from the show. It does feel like they expect you to mostly know it, which I think can be a bit struggling for new fans. I think there's some things that have been built up enough to make you at least intrigued or curious, or at least understand the threat of Thrawn, though I think many people who've watched The Mandalorian at least have heard the name Thrawn twice, so they know that his return is a big deal. But yeah, but I think some people might be a bit confused about the relationship with some of these Rebels characters with Ahsoka and why they're important. I think most people aren't quite clear of what the Night Sisters are, but hopefully that's explained more in a few more episodes. But yeah, overall, I think it was a decent episode. There might be some moments that I kind of feel like drag down the episode, like the stab wound thing and surviving that, as we found for next episode. But overall, I think it was a decent 7 out of 10 episode. A good reintroduction of the many Rebels cast, but maybe not the best new introduction to like new timers. But I think it's a solid start. And I definitely say the villains are probably the most interesting thing so far, because you got a Night Sister, a former Jedi, his Dark Apprentice, and a former Inquisitor. Let's see, working together, all trying to find Thrawn for their own, means and ends. But yeah, overall good episode. And yeah, and now for the next one. Let me just find it. Part 2, Toil and Trouble, which I do like the name of this one, as it's like really suits like the Witches, double, Toil and Trouble. if I'm recalling how it's gone, but yeah. So this episode follows up the last one. Let's see where it starts off in the hospital where Sabine is lying on bed. Let's see, remembering her last encounter with the Dark Jedi, where in conversation with Ahsoka about Ezra, and they see, and she wakes up to see Tano there with Hyunga and a hologram, a medical droid, and I believe maybe that's next scene where she asked how's it all right, and revealed that they've taken the map and she's unlocked it, and Ahsoka is clearly not happy about it. And also not happy that there's no trace of the map's details left, as the HK droid destroyed it. So Ahsoka goes back to the tower when she's told there were at least 2 droids. And Sabine offers to go there, but Ahsoka says she's done enough, and leaves her there, while you then cut to Braylon Skull and Shin Hayati traveling with their Tri-Wing shuttle to a planet with red trees called apparently Seotus, another planet for the Night Sisters, and they're going to these rocky ruins, and they put the star orb map thing on the pedestal there, and it sort of clicks into place there, with then telling Skull telling Hayati to contact Morgan Elizabeth, and believe that they have found the point for Skitos, reflect point for Skitos, and as he watches the sky, and I think there is one of those lawful whales there. I forgot one thing, I mentioned this before, that afterwards there's a sort of like credit scenes to the show, and it's like something you expect more from the MCU, to their artistic creativity thing, not really Star Wars, but I do like it. And it seems to be this sort of galaxy map thing connecting to all these different worlds with gold lines connecting to planets. And in the background, you can sometimes see the Lothorian wolf and also space whales. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing. It kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones a bit, but yeah. But you see one of those whales in the background in here, and I do like this. I do like we're getting more hints of these whales, as they're pretty much these hyperdrive whales, if you will, as they were the reason that Thrawn and Ezra apparently are now in another galaxy and all that stuff, which is something I didn't mention about last episode, but I'm more saving for this. But I do like how Ahsoka seems to be just annoyed by Sabine for like, okay, you found the map, and now you've like and you've lost all details to find it. So she's going to try and sort this out. So there's that. But it's interesting to see a hospital bed in Star Wars. I don't think I recall seeing one in a while. At least in I don't think I saw one in the sequel. Okay, since the sequel trilogy, maybe. I know it's been a while, but yeah, it's always nice to see those dark droids. They seem that's the one thing that seems consistent with every one of the few things consistent with every era. They have the same type of medical droid, but anyway, oh yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, on to the let's see, back to the episode. Let's see, Ahsoka arrives at the world where let's see Sabine's home with a Lothlorian cat. I will admit, I really love the design of the. I really love how they've brought the Lothlorian cat to life with the animatronics. I think. And I'm definitely going to wouldn't be surprised if they decide to do a lot more Lothal cat merchandises after this. I can see this being a bit of a seller. But yeah. But it snarls and Ahsoka realizes the HK droid's there, though she probably senses in the Force, slices its head off and brings it back. She's thinking that she was hoping it would be here and brings it back to Sabine's hospital room, where Hera is now also there in the hologram, asking Sabine if that she can use it to help. They're saying if they can use it to help track where the droid originally come from, so they can find the lead to where they need to go. Sabine says that she could probably do it, but if she makes a mistake, it will blow up. Concerning Hayua, but Hera says just go for it. But he just says you're only doing it because you're not in the room, and. Sabine does it. The closest the time bomb gets taken, everyone starts to get worried that Hayun just deactivates the droid. Much to Sabine's annoyance, but did get a location, and apparently the droid came from Corellia, as particularly the New Republic shipyards there, where Tana recalled that Morgan Elizabeth had a factories on Corellia. Talking about how this should have been dismantled in the rebellion, in which Syndulla decides that she and Tana should meet there and deal with it. Sabine offers to go, but Tana tells her no, you are to stay here. As she leaves, Sabine complains about about Ahsoka, but Hera says, you're both being different. You both are kind of difficult to each other. But does say that Sabine that she did a good job, even though she said tell that to Tana, but she's saying she's telling it to you because she needs it right now. I do like how Ahsoka was pretty much went to investigate because she knows that HK droid would probably be still there, realizing it's the best way to get a new lead to try and find where that Dark Jedi left to find the map. Now that they have no recordings of it. And I do like how you have Sabine using her tech-based and demolition skills to try and activate the droid's memory bank. But I do like how, I do find it funny how you gets a bit concerned with that fact that the droid can blow up, and there's funny interactions with Hera about it. And as a result, getting a bit worried when it looks like it's about to blow, and Hayub says, I'm turning this off, but they're going to Corellia as well. And it's always cool to see the fact that we are going to Corellia, Han's homeworld, which we haven't seen in any Star Wars live action or animated media since Solo, when that unfortunately bombed at the box office in 2018. But yeah, so it's been about 5 years since we've seen Corellia. But now we've got a location, and Ahsoka is going with Hera, but decides not to, when she decides not to take Sabine. I like how that seems to be building tension enough that Sabine, that Hera is trying to be sort of like the moderator between the master and the apprentice, if you will, which I think fits in with her character quite well, because she was often the meditator between like the Jedi Master and the student, with like Janan and Ezra, or in a sense Janan and Sabine. But yeah, she was always sort of the moderator of the family in the Rebels crew family, if you will. the Ghost Crew family, whatever you want to name it. So yeah, I like that they're doing that. But yeah, but pretty much this episode's going to be a Ahsoka and Ritzy Hesse and Harrison Dilla cop buddy episode, which I'm all for. I mean, last episode you got mostly focused on Ahsoka and Sabine. Now you've got like a sort of Ahsoka working with Hera. If she's going to be one of the main characters, might as well. So, hold on, let me just find the episode. Yeah. So I'm just trying to remember some of what comes next. I know I've watched. No, it's a bit embarrassing watching the episode twice, and although granted I watched it last night and I was going to review it last night, but I was getting tired and decided to go to bed. So anyway, I'm rambling on here. Anyway, let's see. Morgan Elizabeth arrives on Sacros. Let's see, with a bunch of her HK guards. With Skull, let's see, talking about how these are not built by Jedi, and she ends up telling them that it's an ancient people from a distant galaxy that built them, and asks the two would like to see it, as she ends up using appears to be Night Sister magic without touching it, and green flames evaporate around it, showing an image of their galaxy, and it's like it looks kind of like the star maps from KOTOR, from my understanding, and then it shows like the sort of galaxy that Thrawn is, with like the golden line pointing to like a stone bit where the map is showing. And this is telling that this is where Admiral Thrawn was banished after the liberation of the Fall. And asking him if and this is where Bayron Skull asks, is this a light worm path to this place called Paridia? And she says that's what some might call it, but it's and he talks about how that place is apparently fairy tales that were told to Jedi younglings at the Jedi Temple, and she replies that some fairy tales are based on elements of truth. And when they ask about Skull about the future, he says that he finds the path to be very clouded. And then apparently they hear strange voices. And apparently Elizabeth tells them that this is like she's hearing Thrawn across time and space. Though he seems to think that she's speaking of dreams and hopes. I believe that that the threads of fate are not lying to her, and they will need everything to get ready, and tells them particularly like the Eye of Sion is on its way, and they need to make sure it's everything ready. So she leaves and to try and get everything ready for that. And this is where Hayate asks what will finding Thrawn do for them and all that stuff. As I think Brian says that, let's see, for some it will bring war, but for them it will bring them power that they've dreamed. And let's see, also new beginnings and all that stuff. So, yeah. And afterwards, Hayate is then, I think, ordered by... I think maybe Morgan Elizabeth or maybe Braylon, I can't recall which one, to go and check on I believe, let's see, we're calling his name what's his name? The Inquisitor Mayako, I think. Marok. So that's finishing the stuff on Crater to go in the system. And yeah, that ends that bit of the episode. So, yeah. I do like the sort of like these interactions with the villains and their own goals and all that stuff. And I like how the apprentices questioning the master and all this stuff, like the importance of Thrawn. Why would such a grand admiral be so important? And I like the Giles, her master's response. So about how for some it's war, some a new beginning, but for them it will be power, because it seems like regardless of the reasons, like each of these dark side users or Night Sister are trying to find Thrawn, they all have their means and objectives to do so. And I do like how there's talk of building a new galaxy for Star Wars, which is interesting because this could eventually lead into perhaps maybe Disney doing some sort of loose adaptation of the Yuzon Fong invasion of the galaxy. We know it won't be a complete adaptation, as Luke, Han, Leia, and their children in the EU Legends got heavily involved, but we know that the Skywalker bloodline is at least dead by the end of the sequel trilogy, unfortunately. But so other characters will do it. Granted, let's see, we do know that Thrawn in like a new canon joined the Empire for, like, at least granted if the books are going to play a part, is that let's see, he needed the Empire's help in fighting this species called the Gist, I think, that the Chiss are fighting. So I wonder if that will play into this, those being the beings from another galaxy, or maybe that's just another name for the Yuzon Fong, I'm not sure. Or maybe we'll see eventually a Chiss ascendancy, but granted, it really depends if Dave Filoni is going to follow those books. As we've seen from Star Wars media, that let's see, the movies and books can ignore the books comics pretty well, regardless of their canon status. So who knows, or they don't get brought up that much, and which sometimes annoys fans who have bought those books, but we'll wait and see on that part. But I do like let's talk about this area called Pereira, which seems to be a rumor, a legend, or a fairy tale for like young Jedi. But yeah, I do like that. Interestingly, the Iron Scion seems to be based off of the name of Darth Scion, or at least the name being used from like Scion from Knights of the Old Republic 2. But yeah. So it seems to be at least a marge for that, and maybe might even apply that Darth Scion might be canon, but I could be wrong. But at the moment, Scion remains a Legends character. So there's that. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. Nope, I am. There we go. So, yeah, but I do like how we're exploring another galaxy. Granted, perhaps we could have had more time with the unknown regions first, but who knows? But maybe we'll get more of that as well. But anyway, Ahsoka and Sabine arrive at the Corellian shipyards. Ahsoka with a T6 shuttle, and Hera with the Phantom 2, and you see Chopper there. So his first live action appearance since Rogue One cameo, and I believe he's now, and apparently he was revealed at the end of Rebels to be voiced by Dave Filoni. So yeah, he's got his personality much as ever, and they end up meeting this supervisor called Men Reaver with his who tries to tell them that everything's fine, but Syndulla Metzi pretty much uses her general rank to get an inspection, and they end up taking a tour of the facility. And they learn that, let's see, many of the staff there were still those that worked in the Empire. And he makes this very interesting comment about, like, an empire doesn't become a republic overnight. So in order to keep the things operational, they've kept most of the staff here, which gets Ahsoka and Syndulla worried about their loyalties, but he says that, let's see, the politics and the ideology doesn't really matter to these workers. They just want to get paid, though by the looks of some of them two arriving, that might not necessarily be true, and it's clearly hints that some are working there. He says, like, he only wants to keep his investors happy, so he doesn't really care too much about the politics and the thing. He just more cares about the money. But because he's a businessman, but yeah, so he does that. And then And during this, you have Syndulla and Ahsoka commenting on all that stuff with Syndulla saying that her counter with Sabine paid off, but she says we don't really have the map, but their clues with Sabine at the very least led to Corellia, but Ahsoka's still a bit reluctant. And Ahsoka feels she still not really wants to try and reteach Sabine to become a Jedi, even though she left her. Which let's see, it seems to be a bit of a mystery why, but she left her, but that's something that's going to be built up. But Sabine, so Hera says, when will she be ready? And she says, when she knows she's ready. And she goes like, you Jedi are cryptic as ever, but it says that's what makes a Jedi with their gut instinct. So that conversation is a bit, but I do like the sort of conversation the two are having, particularly like about Sabine and like and see Syndulla being the one saying, "Hey, give this another shot," and Ahsoka says, "I'm not doing it until she's herself fully ready to recommit and all that stuff." So apparently, after when Ahsoka left her, which I think you're clearly in the wrong there, she seems to have given up her most motivation. Which relates to, I think, a conversation with Hayug and Sabine later about her lack of training when Ahsoka left. But yeah. But I do like how Syndulla's trying to praise Sabine, but Ahsoka's still trying to be the skeptic first. But the main conversation is pretty much about the shuttle and all the building thing, about how the employer and the workers there were like from the Empire's days, and talking about how most people don't really care about if it's a New Republic or Empire as long as they're paid. It's like they'll work forever, and we kind of saw a bit of that with the New Republic, and with like in the Mandalorian season 3 with those sort of senators who like from the New Republic that didn't really care too much, or those aristocrats who didn't really care if it was like the Empire or the New Republic. They was like, all that stuff. And it seems to be a sort of similar theme here. Granted, you can clearly tell that there's some workers here that are still probably loyal to the Empire. But the businessman, it's like, it's business. It's like, yeah. And it does kind of show you this sort of like how the sort of problem, some of the problems of the transitions between a New Republic, democracy from a pretty authoritarian regime, where there are like some of the staff from the previous regime are still in there, even though despite their crimes, but they still need them to try and keep try to keep the work operational. But now they're under supervision of the New Republic to try and make new weapons. In many ways, it kind of reminds me of World War II. I think many of the Imperial Japan leaders were still left in charge of Japan, despite the fact that despite perhaps some of their war crimes, because they needed the country to still operational, but more under the watchful eye of the US. And it seems to be the case here. But I do like how Syndulla tries to go to, I think there's some character called Mine Weaver, that she can use her rank to make this a more formal inspection. And you can see him being a bit reluctant to do this, but decides, okay, I gotta let her, might as well let her take a tour around the thing, otherwise I'm going to be stuck with her. On the second, just sorry about that. Just got to get another drink break. Anyway, where was I? I know it sounds a bit amateur of me, but yes. We're now back in LaFall, where Hera Syndulla, not Hera Syndulla, Sabine and Hayang. Let's see. Sorry, if I keep pronouncing this name, Hayang. In the room, Sabine has finally got the bandages removed from her, and she's got now a scar on her thing, which at the very least, she's got a permanent scar. Granted, her Mandalorian armor will probably pretty much cover that up. And they have a talk about Ezra's lightsaber, and she thinks it's still Ezra's, but Hyun says that since she's modified it, it's become her own. And like I mentioned earlier, has not kept up to her training. And then, let's see, and they get into a bit of thing about, let's see, her lack of training and why she's not doing it, saying that Tana didn't think she was ready and all that stuff and left her. But Hyun says that you're doing a poor excuse for not training. And she goes like, Tana quitting on her and all that stuff. But he advises, regardless, just move forward on it and do what you want to try and do, and just move forward and try and continue your own training by yourself, or go back to Ashoka. And she ends up asking Hyun that, did you come to LaFour because she missed me or because she needed the map thing, in which she confirms that it was her suggestion. So it's like, let's see. I realized that, yeah, Ahsoka didn't want me back, but he said that, but he points out that Ren has never indicated that she wanted to come back or not. And I think Eva Sabine says that the droid's annoying, but he says that he's logical. So, yeah. And, or maybe Ahsoka said, and he said, no, he's logical. But I don't know. The wiki might be getting a bit wrong here, but I should have remembered this from the episode. But Sabine says, do I really need to be a Jedi? Should I really be a Jedi? I don't have any of the talent or the force abilities that Ezra had, in which Hyun agrees, but saying even of all the Padawans he has experienced, she lacks the most altitude to the Force. Thinking like, okay, then I won't waste Tana's time. But Hyun saying, I disagree with that, and saying that she's only wasting her own time by just doubting herself, and gives her the lightsaber and says that, let's see, give yourself another chance thing with it, and she reluctantly takes it. So, yeah. I do like this little conversation between the two about whether or not she's worthy to be a Jedi or not, or like, this is Ezra's, or like, I didn't have his skill, but and says, this is your lightsaber now. Let's see. You are a Jedi Padawan. You might as well continue training, even if you do not have the Force skills ability. And it's like, and that seems to be hopefully the direction Dave Filoni goes, where she's a Jedi in teaching, even if she's not like the Force abilities, and even if she's not, and even though she tries to make excuses and reluctance, Hyun is just like saying, no, stop making excuses. Let's see, what the past is the past. Do what you want to do now, and do what you need to do now, and you want to continue this training. You need to decide for yourself that do you actually want to do it or not, and let's see, you are a Jedi. It's time you should continue your training. So I'm sort of fumbling my words. I'm trying to find the right thing to say, but pretty much just says that stop making excuses. You are a Jedi. It's time to continue your training, pretty much. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, we follow back to Ahsoka and Syndulla, and now at the Kandarian control tower, where they're inspecting the thing and keeping track of telling them about all the dismantled Imperial ships, and able to, with the dismantled Star Destroyers, they're able to fund various new Republic construction transports, which I think makes sense from my understanding. The Imperials spent so much of their resources and income on military, particularly Star Destroyers, that a lot of galaxies suffered for it, but now that they can dismantle some of the Star Destroyers, they can give money back, so I think that makes sense. And eventually they sort of like notice like And then with Lower Tano ends up asking about some of the other things. He says, like, investors and all that stuff doing hardware and distribution, trying to make excuses. But when they notice, like, the hyperdrive, that like pretty big, and he says it's from a super star destroyer, and now it's ready to do a new life serving New Republic. And they've apparently produced 9 models, but Sindua pretty much comments that the New Republic defense fleet doesn't have anything that's that big for the ship. And saying what kind of starship is for. Weaver then tries to go to his data pack, saying it's classified and he cannot unseal it without full authorization. But she says since she's a general, you can do it to her and all that stuff. And as a result, he summons a protocol droid called C1D1. I think that's a nice name for it. Let's see, it's called a C33PO. But yeah, I think it's a nice name for it. And then Tano asks the droids about the details on the operation. And Ahsoka ends up asking about what other droids they have in the operation. And they talk about all the CL's ID-37 pincer loader droids and H-37s. But Tano asks about a HKA type, which he denies about this, but wonder if there's been any programmed ones that Weaver uses, but he also denies this. And then CD1 recalls seeing one of those droids that prevented her from completing one of her inventory duties recently, with Tano asking when this was, and it says that was 5 rotations ago, which I assume must mean is probably 5 days. Weaver, being concerned, asked why did she not report it, and CD1 replies that it was holding a high-level security clearance, and she ends up asking where the droid is, and she says, like, it's departing on that ship right now. And then as Syndulla hears this, orders the ship to be stopped, but one of the male crew then shouts for the Empire, and the other staff members start shooting at Tano and Syndulla, and they fight them off, killing them or two of them as Waver, I believe Waver, let's see, Waver, hold on, let me just find the name. Mim Weaver is hiding behind one of the droids like the bit of the coward. As she decides to pursue, as Ahsoka, like, I think jumps out of the glass window and jumps down to find the droid. But yeah, anyway, I do like how we pretty much learned about the whole dismantling process and how funds go to like the New Republic's projects. But you get but I do like how let's see, Syndulla and Ahsoka are questioning like some of the things that are being dismantled, like that Super Star Destroyer engine. Now and where you get Weaver saying that they've designed 9 of them, but Hera points out New Republic's not building anything like a Super Star Destroyer, and then he says that and tries to say, oh, it's declassified, but says declassify it. And then you've got like Ahsoka questioning like what about the HK droids and like the protocol droid, let's see, who in this programming to answer questions pretty much spills the beans that there apparently was a HK droid there. And this gets the staff members nervous who are Empire sympathizers. I've clearly been doing some behind the scenes things against Weaver here, who seems to be completely oblivious to what is going on. At least I'm assuming is. I don't think he seems to be a part of the and it doesn't seem to be necessarily working for the Empire, but since he's been so busy just getting his payments, he just doesn't really care and let this corruption of the Empire infiltrators be about. Let's see, from judging by his reactions, let Eddie step by him until like and the sympathizers can no longer hide their identity, no longer hide the fact that Ahsoka and Syndulla have found the truth when protocol droid tells them that HK is moving the engine today and tries to stop it. They fight and they get easily destroyed. So yeah, So now you have, which leads to the next bit of, let's see, with like Tano jumping out of the Phantom and Syndulla jumping out of the window, and like I said, Syndulla getting to the Phantom to chase after the engine. While Ahsoka runs there, gets blocked by Inquisitor Maverick and HK Droid, and they fight her a bit, and Syndulla gets to a shuttle and starts chasing the ship, trying to blast it and all that stuff, with Chopper saying blow it out, but Syndulla says that we can't have the engine damaged nearby things, but I think Chopper doesn't care, so she tells him to put in a tracker, if you will, and eventually trying to find it from his bits and scraps. Eventually finds it and then throws on the shuttle as it's trying to shoot down the Phantom, and it escapes in the thing, while Ahsoka's battling the Inquisitor, who's only drawn one of his lightsabers first, and then the HK thing, but after the HK droid is destroyed, then he likes the second one and then goes a bit more in the fight until, like, I believe it is, Shin Hayate arrives in the shuttle, and he jumps on it and uses the Force to bring back his double-bladed Inquisitor blade as they escape. But so the two has escaped as Ahsoka just looks on with her lightsabers, and then the New Republic comes in and arrests a lot of the staff there. Clearly going to more inspection, like who is a part of the Empire and who still has Empire sympathies and who does not, including Weaver, with, like, I think Ahsoka and Syndulla talking about how it seems greed blinds people and all that stuff. And that when Syndulla says, I can't believe there's like some people still loyal to the Empire. And like I said, I think Weaver is not necessarily an Empire sympathizer, but I think his own blindness to greed let the Empire slip around his things. He didn't pay too much attention to what was going on until it's too late. So he's going to be punished for that crimes, but yeah. But Hera does say that they at least have, some good news, and that they did track the shuttle with the transport thing. So there's that. So they're happy about that. Meanwhile, I think Sabine has gone back to her, has cut her hair back to the short size thing you saw at the end of Rebels, and what she normally had in Rebels are set, and generally no longer long hair, which I forgot to mention that earlier, but it's now back to its sort of short hair, which I think is perhaps more suited for the character, to be honest, than just the long hair. But yeah, and starts getting out her Mandalorian armor and now putting it back on, and and when she holograms Ahsoka on the ship, telling her that she's sort of ready, and we get back to the fall. Though, granted, I think before that, I think as Syndulla's telling Ahsoka the news about what Chopper's doing, as he's trying to currently search for the ship that they've put a tracker on. She keeps her updated, but Ahsoka now seeing that Sabine is ready, comes to collect her on the fall in a similar manner to what happened at the ending of Rebels, with Sabine looking at the painting and then walking off, sort of ending that part of the episode. But then you see this big sort of Eye of Sion thing, and the last engine being put in place, and saying that they will be able to deliver Grand Admiral from exile soon, as she and the droids man the ship, and the hologram of the three Dark Jedi / Inquisitors. With Morgan talks about how Baron says that Ahsoka seems to trouble her and all that stuff, or at least the encounter, and no, they are seemingly on, but they think that she won't be able to track them on the way of the device Chopper put in. as Skull tries to meditate in the Force and says that Tunnel's presence in the Force is elusive, but know that she's coming. And she ends up saying that nothing can stop them from this journey. But he says that, Brian Skull shows his reluctance of killing another Jedi and all that stuff. And she wonders, are you being sentimental? But he says he's just being sentimental as the holograms disappear. And as Morgan's ready to seemingly preparing for their eventual takeoff, ending the episode. So there's that. So I do like the sort of. I definitely say that the lightsaber combat between Ahsoka and the Inquisitor. Let's see, for my thoughts on this bit is much better than the Sabine versus the Dark Jedi Apprentice, and I think it was. I do like the skills of the Inquisitor, and it seems it's a lot more skilled than the ones that Tano faced with the Seventh Sister and the Fifth Brother back in Rebels. So this might lead to more theories that this one might be Star Killer at the very least, or some form of Star Killer, or one that's at least been personally trained by Vader. We still do not know what this Inquisitor's number was. It might have been the First Brother, for all we know, or 13th. I don't know. It depends on the numbers they have. I mean, it never really gave clear how many numbered of Inquisitors there are. But it seems like the majority of the remaining ones were wiped out on the mission to Malachor, as that's apparently where the Jedi Purge officially ended. But yeah, at the very least, as the Ezra and Kanan didn't get any more Inquisitors after them, and it seems like the Empire declared that the majority of the Jedi seem to be dead, but there, of course, seems to be some new ones, but yeah. But yeah, I do like the sort of fight there, and I do like even the bit of the space bit of dogfight with Syndulla and Chopper and the Phantom against that transport. I do like the banter with Hera and Chopper. And Chopper seems like this moody droid. He's always been like, just blow it up. And it's like, no casualties. And like, have you gone through my stuff? And she's like, no, Chopper, no, Chopper, just keep looking. So, yeah, I think Chopper is still the cranky droid he always is. And I'm enjoying that. So, there's that. I do like how, like I said earlier, that the Republic guys were like arrested. Let's see, the New Republic came in to arrest these guys, and hopefully that means they'll sort out the factory a bit more and try and find people that are less sympathetic to the Empire, but the damage has been done, unfortunately. But yeah, but I do like how Sabine also cut off her hair, and now it's ready, and yeah. No, granted, I am a little bit confused about the ending scene. Now, is that either a new thing, or are they just rehashing like the... Let's see, a new thing. Is that a new meeting, or is that just the actual scene between Ahsoka and Sabine at the end of Rebels? No, granted, from my understanding, no, I need to double check the ending of Rebels because I can't tell if that monument was in a different building or not. But then it seems to be like Filoni's changing a few things because Ahsoka was all in white when that happened in the animated show, and now she's all in black, if you will, which I do like Ahsoka's live-action Jedi look. And in fact, it's probably the most Jedi look she had in the series. As let's see, her first look was a bit controversial given her age, but I think some more conservative parents, from my understanding. And a second look, while looked a bit more like Ayla Secura, like a bit more like Ayla Secura, but not really Jedi look. But yeah, looked a lot better. I mean, granted, my favorite look is probably the look she had in the Siege of Mandalore, really. And then, but yeah, and then she had a sort of like other look for like Rebels. But yeah, but this is probably like the most Jedi look she has. So I'm down with it. So yeah. So I can't tell if it's rehashing the same scene or it is the actual scene for Rebels. I need to double check, but either way, let's see, it's clearly a march to that. And I think for the most part, if it's the same scene, they seem to have captured very well despite a few changes. But yeah. But anyway, the conversation between Morgan and Brian at the end about Ahsoka, she's said like how the Morgans are confident that they won't be in pursuit of her, but he says don't underestimate her. And I do like how Brown, being his past as a Jedi, seems to have like his reluctance to kill more of his kind because there's so few of them left. And he's just stating his honest opinion despite Morgan's questioning her sentiments. But at the moment, he's being truthful. And it's a very interesting conversation, and it's really more, and it gives a bit more nuance to the villains, who are so far being the most interesting thing about this show at the moment. No offense, like the main cast, but yeah. But it goes to show, great, let's see. But I think this is going to be the highlight for most people. Good villains for the story to follow, and this plot of finding Thrawn. I do like the sort of design of like the big circle, like ship going to hyperdrive. It reminds me of those things that you had on like the Jedi starfighters when they needed to go on those pods and then travel throughout the galaxy. So there's that. Overall, I'd give this episode an 8 out of 10. I think it's a much better improvement over the last one. I like the conversations Sabine had with Hyuga and trying to get ready to be a Jedi again. I like the witty cop buddy adventure that Hera and Ahsoka did, investigating like a New Republic shipyard with former Imperial employers, showing a bit of like some of the complications of moving a republic from an empire to a republic, with like many of the loyalist staff still being there. And I like the fight scenes between Ahsoka and the Inquisitor. And I also like the sort of dynamic between the villains as you learn more about their goals and objectives of trying to find Thrawn for themselves, and maybe their own nuanced relationships of how they feel about other Jedi and all that stuff, particularly with Balin, who seems to be the most intriguing character since he is like a former Jedi. He seems to be now more like a dark Jedi or something else new and entirely. Not a Sith at the very least, because of the orange lightsabers, but yeah. Overall, very good episode, and I hope those who managed to listen to me for an hour and 41 minutes. I apologize for this being long, but I guess it's been a while since I reviewed a Star Wars episode, and clearly long ones in 2 episodes, but yeah. But I had quite a lot to say about this show, and hopefully, let's see, hopefully in the next ones I'll be a bit more shorter in my deductions, but yeah. Overall, I think these 2 episodes make a very solid start to like the Ahsoka thing, and they're probably best to watch them back to back, as they seem to be 2 parts of a bigger journey. But at the moment, of course, you could probably, I'd say, the second episode you could probably watch a bit more individually compared to the first. But overall, sort of good thing, and overall, it's the first part of this journey set up. Ahsoka and Sabine are now on the Starfighter, ready as she's acknowledged her as a Padawan again. I forgot to mention that. And it seems like they're back to being master and apprentice. So there's that. So you've got your master and apprentice on the light side, and you've got your master and apprentice on the dark side with a few other people. And I expect, of course, we'll see Hera to join them soon, but we'll have to wait and see. But we've got our main characters set on their journeys now, and I'm looking forward to see when we'll find Thrawn. Either it'll be at the end of the season or maybe in the middle, I think, but who knows? Maybe Ezra, we'll find out what happened to Ezra as well. But for now, I am Blue Star Saber, signing off. Thank you for listening to this review, and goodbye for now. May the Force be with you.